Well, good morning, everybody. I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to Somewhat Daily Tarot and Rune for the 10th day of December, 2020. Well, happy 67th birthday to my husband today. He got a present from one of his brothers, and it said on there, "Don't open till December 10th." So I asked him, he was born, I think he was either born at 11:32 or 33. I have to look. I said, "You going to wait until then to open it? Or are you going to open it when you get up?" Because he says, "I'm going to wait." So he says he's going to wait until his actual birth moment, birth time. We'll see. We'll see about that. Well, I did an herbal thing. I did a video, and it's on making herbal oils, and I just did a flower oil, and would have liked to have put some honeysuckle flower in it, but I didn't. Anyway, it's made with lavender, rose, chamomile, and oh Lord, what's the other one? Lavender, rose, chamomile. Oh, I'll think of it. I don't remember what the fourth one was. But calendula. Well, it was the bulk of it was the calendula. So anyway, I wanted to make a really healing oil for skin. You can also turn it into a salve. So if you want to look at that, I kind of halfway wrote it up underneath the video itself. But it's over there on YouTube. It's also on the left side panel of the blog. And let's see. I need to do something else on the Magical Musings one, though, so that one can actually go up there, because the one I did, I restricted it to 18, and so you can't see it there. You can only see it over on YouTube. So, well, it was talking about bindings, and I just kind of felt like, well, maybe we'll just restrict that. So anyway, and how I see all of that. And it was about something that was going on. So anyway, that's what I did there. But I probably need to just do something else because I don't like that it says you can't access it. It's restricted. I mean, I couldn't even embed it into a post on my blog. So anyway, but that's up. The magical forecast will go up here shortly after this for the day. I have a post I'm working on. It might go up today, and it's on the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction that's coming up on the 21st. Actually, they've been in conjunct for a long time, but it's going to get super close. It'll be within like 2 degrees of one another. Same sign, Aquarius, moving from Capricorn to Aquarius. And so, I think that it's going to portend some interesting things, both, individually and collectively, because you're talking about Jupiter, the planet of expansion, and Saturn, the planet of contraction. So, we'll see. I think it's playing out right now, still with the election and all the nonsense that's going on there. The election's been decided, folks. I don't know. The 14th, the Electoral College will vote, but the electors have to vote the way their states tell them to. They can't decide, to do something else. That's not appropriate, and I'm not even sure it's legal. In fact, in some states, I don't think it is. So, but basically, we'll have a new president in January, and no matter what legal nonsense, because they've lost everywhere, right? So, but I think that you're going to see maybe some rebalancing that goes on. I think that with the new Saturn and Jupiter relationship here, they're gonna, if you can see it in the sky, it's pretty much going to be on the setting side, at least in terms of where we're located. So hopefully we'll be able to see it, but it'll look like a bright star, I guess. They're calling it the Bethlehem star, even though that's not when he was born. But there were interesting things in this happening when he was, during the time when he was. So they really put it astrologically. They're putting it not astrologically, but from an astronomy standpoint. where the planets were at the time, there might have been as many as 4. And so it would have really appeared like this big bright star in the sky, assuming that's what it even was. But if it was, then I think you had, I can't remember which it is. I think I wrote it down though in there, or I've got it in my notes. But look for that if you're interested. I don't think it's necessarily a positive thing or a negative thing, but I think that it's going to be more of an energetic thing, maybe how it manifests. So hopefully, I mean, if we were all on a shared path together, it might be one thing, but we're not, and that's why I'm hesitating to even, But anyway, I'm not done with it. Hopefully, I'll finish it today and get it posted. So watch for that. So I think that's enough shuffling. The rune for today is Fehu. Now, Fehu is the sending rune. It also means cattle and wealth. It's wealth that's movable. So it's able to be, you can transact with it, basically. But again, it's sending energy. It's manifesting energy. The first rune of the Elder Futhark. And I think that it's basically suggesting that we can... that something's going to manifest maybe today, or we're going to do something today. We're going to make something happen today. The thing is populace is also the geomancy rune for the day. So in a way, maybe contraction, maybe expansion. I don't know. But, I mean, this might be a loose way to look at it. But populace is interesting because it means you're going along with the flow or going along with the crowd. Now, in a shared direction forward, that's fine, depending on where that's going. Okay, lots of really strange things happening with protesters pounding on the homes of local officials with their children. One woman on a health board in Idaho, they were doing that at her house, and her 12-year-old was home alone, scared to death. Texted mom. Mom had to go call and then come back and say, I have to go. And then the police decided that, you guys need to cancel this meeting because there's too much happening at your houses. You need to get home. But she had to leave the meeting because she needed to go and take care of her son. He was upset. And I don't blame him, scared to death. She said they were armed. I don't know if they were or they weren't, but that's what she said. And so I'll take her at her word. Again, which populace do you want to be associated with? We've got it's an anti-masker crowd where they don't want to wear masks. They don't want to have any imposition on their behavior. Well, no one does, but it's a pandemic. But they don't believe it's real. They think that for most people, it's not going to hurt you. Well, but what if it's your grandma or your mom or your wife or your husband or your child, God forbid? Is that enough to make you sit up and take notice and realize that there's folly in what you're doing? And then, see, it's one thing to believe that way, but it's another thing to expose others to that belief and running around without a mask. And when other people are just trying to stay safe, you got to go grocery shopping, put a mask on. Don't have it off. When you don't get through the door and then take it off when nobody's looking, because everyone's looking, right? Or don't go and then take your attitude and go pound on someone's door when their 12-year-old's home alone. Because grandma, who's supposed to be out there, has actually had to take the dog out, So she's doing that, and in that moment, the pounding started, right? She probably went out the back and they didn't see her, and whatever it was. But how dare you scare a child, right? So that's the kind of thing with populace. You can be on the side of healing and trying to, stay the course and try to get through this. Or you can be on the other side, which is making it that much more difficult for people. And I'll tell you, if you've lost somebody, man, you want to stay away from those folks because, they're going to look at you, like, get a mask on. My wife just died. My husband just died. My kid just died. My mother just died. Get a mask on. You see, that's going to be the dynamic. And rightly so. So again, which group do you want to belong to? Because all too often right now and I talk about this, I'm talking about it on Patreon, but I'm also talking about it in the Magical Forecast. When I look at the rays, I'm getting a whole lot more. I'm not just saying, okay, these are the ones that are active. I'm talking about how that is impacting us. Sixth ray energy is what the planet is in right now, and that's devotion and idealism. If the second ray of love and wisdom is not strong enough, though, that can result in fanatical behavior and cult-like behavior, where you're getting caught up in things that don't make any sense. It can mean an expression of idealism and being inspirational, but that's if it's countered with love and wisdom. If it's not, and right now oftentimes the second ray is not quite as influential on it. And so I think that's why you're seeing a lack of balance that way, that we cannot get on a shared path together. And so if you want to think about this in terms of getting on that shared path together, unfortunately, it would be better if it were via and just the single row of dots instead of the dual. The dual, when you see the two dots in geomancy, you're talking passive influence. So again, you're going along with the crowd. Just depends on what that is. But again, with via, you're doing the same thing. It's influenced by the perception. It's influenced by whatever wave of experience you're in. And so at least there, though, you're on a definite direction, which, again, depending on where that's taking you, defines, what kind of experience you're going to have. Is it going to be fruitful or is it going to be harmful? And right now, it just seems like there aren't a lot of shades of gray in between. We're really in this either or kind of thing. And I suspect that some of it is trying to balance the expansive Jupiter energy with the contracting Saturn energy, freedom versus restriction. We all have to balance that, right? Otherwise, maybe we don't show up for work, we don't bring in the paycheck, we can't pay our rent, because we're a little too freedom loving, right? And freedom oriented, but whereas, you don't want to be so restricted that you can't have any fun in life either. So, that's where you get the two of them in a better alignment. And I think you make the best of both. Right now, it seems like instead of doing that, it's one versus the other. So when you talk about a conjunction, you're talking about finding a way to manage those two energies together in a more positive way that actually gets you somewhere. So again, with Populus, where are you going and who are you doing it with? And with Fehu is how are we going to manifest all of that, in a way that increases, if you're talking from financial standpoint, does it increase our wealth or does it not? If the country can't get it together to get through the pandemic and reduce the amount of people that are getting exposed, then, I don't know what to say. We don't know in terms of the how long it's going to take to get all of us vaccinated. And even when we do get vaccinated, until the whole country's vaccinated, until we get past this completely, we're still going to have to wear masks. That's what they're saying. Again, we're in this weird energy now of expansion and contraction and trying to find our way through that balance, right? Let's take a look at the cards. If this is your first time here, welcome. Thank you so much for coming by. I hope you click subscribe. I'd really love you to do that. And thank you to everyone who has. I appreciate you all so much. Here we have the Three of Wands. Just kind of standing there waiting for a ship to come in. You can see the ships on the reddish water down there. And he's got his staff in the one hand, in his right hand. It looks like he's a merchant. But you can see the two staffs behind him. It's like he's gone through a doorway, hasn't he? And whatever choices he's made, whatever investments he's made, and again, Fehu can assist with that. And it's, meaning of movable wealth and all of that. And definitely, if you're looking at boats on the water, it's definitely wealth that's movable from one place to the next. But he's made some kind of a deal, and he's just waiting for his ship to come in. Maybe he's got some goods that are coming in or whatever. I mean, you can imagine all sorts of things with that card. But it's a 3 energy, so mind, body, spirit, balance. Things are in order as he walks through the doorway into new experiences. But so far, this is aligning well with Fehu, and maybe the manifestation of wealth, a change in status. Maybe we'll get, some kind of deal on stimulus today, which won't be enough, but it'll be something. Hopefully it won't be the pittance of $600 they were initially talking about, and more along the lines of the $1,200, but I don't know. We'll see. For some people, for some households, all they're going to get is the one check. They won't, mom and dad maybe both don't work. Maybe if both of them don't work, then one of them's not going to get it. And so the way they have that structured. So if you've been, if you've been retired or you aren't working or what have you, you haven't worked in a while, maybe only one person gets it and the other person doesn't. So if you have a family, $1,200 isn't enough. It's not going to pay your rent and everything else and food and all of that. And if that's all you've got coming in, if your unemployment's running out, because I think for some it is, we've got some real issues of how are we going to keep people protected, basically. Because that's really what we're talking about, keeping them in their homes. There's a moratorium on evictions that in some areas is going to run out, and that can't happen because they're going to be out on the street. And people are starting to stand up to police that are coming and trying to evict people. So are we going to see those things happen? This is just a very difficult time for people. And how we manage it together in the populace aspect of it really is going to matter. Are we going to do it in a way that preserves people's safety, security, all of that, while we finally get it together surrounding this virus? Or are we not? Other countries do this monthly for people, and we've gotten one check, right? We're carrying a heavy burden, trying to build for the future. This also aligns well with both Fehu and Populus. We see the man carrying, he's leaning forward, carrying 10 wands. You can see the line of demarcation back here. So this is what he's trying to do to provide security for his family, for the home. In a sense, not looking where he's going, he's trusting the process. And 10 can be about new beginnings. It can also be endings and beginnings, but usually, you're talking about 9 as the ending, and 10 is reduces to 1, so it's a new beginning. And today's the 10th, and so we have new beginnings today. But he's headed in another direction here that is trying to build something and provide security. Wands is the fire element, and so we've got both cards here, the 3 and the 10. Together that's a 4 energy, so structure and foundation. So I really think I wasn't so sure when I drew Fehu and then Populus, but realistically we're trying to take care of our families now, aren't we? We're trying to keep them safe and healthy and alive. We're trying to stay employed. We're trying to keep the money coming in. And so I really think that the manifestation is in terms of finances and providing security. And that's really, we can do that on a shared path, or we can do that, or we can have different paths. But either way, if we're not on something where we're protecting everyone, it's not really going to be useful, is it? We'll be leaving people behind, and that's not fair. Not when other countries are doing this monthly for their people until the pandemic's over with and everyone can get back to work. They had loans to keep the small businesses open, but most of them didn't get them. It went to people that shouldn't have gotten it. Went to really rich people that don't need it, and and basically it left the little small mom and pop businesses or single owner businesses where, maybe you've got a hair salon that's maybe got, oh, I don't know, 4 or 5 different stylists there, and maybe they can't open because they don't have the money to do it safely. They wanted the schools to open, but we didn't provide the schools the money to do it safely. And so people, they've had to close again, right? Some of them, a lot of them probably. We saw what happened in the meat packing plants when they didn't restructure things so that they could go back to work safely. And you had a lot of people die there, get sick and die. So we see what happens when we don't do it correctly, and the government should have been there to take care of that, but did not. Instead, it went to the cronies and the type of companies that didn't need it. Some of them used it to buy their stock back. I mean, and it just makes no sense, right? It's like they all planned for their survival, but the rest of us, well, we were the afterthought, right? And here we have it right here, the Four of Pentacles. The king more concerned with his own wealth than with the kingdom behind him. You see again the line of demarcation here. You'll see that periodically in some of these cards. We saw it here, not in the Three of Wands, but you could. The fact that he's up on kind of a higher ground there above the water. You could think of it that way, but it's really not in the sense of I need to do whatever I have to do, in this case, to build security and protection for my family. Here you could say thinking about others. Same here. I mean, it could just be about himself, but generally speaking, when you're bringing goods in on the harbor, it's usually to sell to other people, right? So other people are involved. Here, he's turned his back to the kingdom. He's got his feet on 2 large coins. He's holding the one in his hands, just, totally hanging tightly onto his money, and he's even displaying it on his crown. He's got his foundation established, doesn't he? But he goes it alone, and he leaves the rest of the folks, wondering what the heck to do. We could put him first and establish him as the impetus for the rest of it. In other words, I'm going to hang on to all the money, and I'm not going to let my kingdom benefit from any of it. So then we all have to go out and figure out what we're going to do, right? To try to make a living within, waters that are not blue there. When you see the oranges, that's the fire element. You see the reds and the oranges, the golds. That's the fire element. The yellow. Yellow's also air, though. So more golden. But you're talking the expression of will, and is the expression of will on behalf of others. And I think that it is here, because of the 3 aspect. And I know that it is here because, I mean, this just reminds me of my husband. Work hard, have the single-minded focus. I know what I'm doing it for there, but I'm going to get it done, right? And that's kind of what this reminds me of. He's trusting the process. He's trusting his will to take him in the right direction. He's gathering his will together so that he can have some kind of an impact on his family that's positive and helpful, and that secures wealth here. Again, that's the shared path that he's on with others in terms of his family. Going in that direction, trying to make his way in spite of what the king has done. In other words, we're left to our own devices to either survive this or we don't. The problem is when we can't come together with other people, and do that in a shared way, it's difficult to survive the king and his miserliness and his own greed. Now, let's see, 4 and 3 is 7, and 1 is, did I do that right? 4 and 3 is 7, and then 10 is, it reduces to 1, so that's an 8. The 8 I look at as the rune Tiwaz, or the spiritual warrior. And again, we don't see evidence of that here. But that truly needs to be the foundation here. That needs to be the essence of populace. That we go in the same direction that's based on safety and security for all people versus just whatever suits him. So he gets the good drugs when he's got the COVID, but the rest of us, maybe not. Right? And it's like, it was like insult to, it was like the whole thing when we found out that they didn't accept the other doses. They were, Pfizer offered them 100,000 more, or not 100,000, but 100 million more doses. And they tried to get them several times to do this. They didn't just say, hey, you want them? No, we don't want them. And they let it go. They didn't. Over the summer, they kept insisting, here, take them. Well, now they've been sold to other countries. And although we have some other ones that are maybe a little more shelf stable, we don't need to have them at sub-zero temperatures, they're coming about. We aren't going to have enough to vaccinate the entire population of the country. I saw an article. My husband's a veteran, and I saw an article, I think it was yesterday, that the VA chief is saying, yeah, I don't know how we're going to do this, particularly with rural veterans that are rural out in the country. You know, if you they may have maybe they don't have a local VA clinic. You know, we have one here, and then of course you've got the main one in Portland, and then there's one in Vancouver, Washington, across the river there, and then they're spread out, you know, but it took a long time to get one over here. Where we are in Central Oregon. So, but we have one, but whether or not they have the ability to store this stuff, I don't know. That was another issue. So logistics is a problem. And I think that they don't have enough, I know they don't have enough dosages to send to everybody. They don't have, I mean, the millions of veterans that are within the system, you know, it's going to go to, I guess, the healthcare workers, which they've got way more healthcare workers than they have vaccines for. That initial, I can't remember the initial amount, but it was less than 100,000. And you've got over 400,000, I think, staff. And then you've got in the millions for veterans that are part of the VA healthcare system. I think that we're going to have to figure this out another way, because I don't know how they take care of the veterans. I don't know how the VA does that, not with what they've got. And again, you know, we could have taken the extra 100 million doses, but we didn't. So it's like you have to look at that, and it's like, what? I mean, I'm tired of asking, what are these people thinking? Because clearly it's this. Okay? I don't know why they won't take care of us. I don't know why they can't see that as, maybe it might have kept him as president. I don't know. I doubt it, but, you know, if he had been a different man. But he isn't. He is who he is, and he makes all the wrong decisions. He makes decisions that might enrich him and his cronies, but he doesn't take care of the country. And I think that although that has been going on for the last 4 years, I think we're seeing it most starkly right now with respect to how we've handled the pandemic, and now the insult to injury about not taking vaccinations that or vaccine vials that could have helped us. 100 million, right? 50 million people would have had their doses, right, that they needed. 50 million more of us. And now we don't know when that's going to happen. So hopefully things will, you know, get back on track here, you know, come the inauguration. We'll start to see this settle out and a different focus where the country is taken care of. But right now, it's just kind of fascinating, you know, that with this heavy burden that we're carrying, trying to find a new way forward, we're having to do it because of this guy. So, and in a way, you've got expansion and contraction contained within this, right? We're trying to expand while this guy pulls the rug out from under us every single step of the way. So, I don't know. Something to think about anyway. You know, right now we have to manifest whatever we can and keep our eye on the ball and survive. So, in spite of what this guy's doing, you know, help is on the way, so to speak, but it's not there yet. So, clearly, he's not going to allow it. So, that's so fascinating that I pulled that card. I can't believe I did that. Because I sat here and I shuffled and shuffled and shuffled and shuffled. And who comes up but this guy? This knothead. Anyway. Thanks so much for watching. And again, I'd love you to click subscribe if you haven't and come back. I'll do the esoteric influences for Sunday. I'll do that on Sunday, the video for it. And also the write-up for it will be on the blog. And otherwise, we'll get together again on Monday for somewhat daily tarot and rune. And see what kind of damage we can do then. Anyway. Thanks again for watching. Have a good day. Have a wonderful weekend. And, you know, wear a mask if you go out around anyone at all. Stay home if you don't have to go out, though. Things are spiking up, so we don't need anybody, you know, being affected. So we've lost enough. And, you know, so be good to yourself. Be good to one another. And blessed be.